Welcome to the Fire and Earth podcast with your host, Jason Mefford and Kathy Gruber. Fire and Earth, giving you the keys to unlock your limitless potential. Potential, I said.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Fire and Earth podcast. I am your co-host, Kathy Gruber.
And I'm Jason Mefford. And today we have Brittney Hiller with us. Hey, Brittney.
What's up, guys?
Hey.
Is it Hiller or Hiller? Didn't we just have this conversation?
No, it's Hiller. It's Hiller.
And you said Hiller.
I know, I was messing around. All right, anyway.
I was thinking, didn't we just have this conversation? Okay, Jason's being persnickety today is what's happening.
Anyway.
Hey, so anyway, Brittney, welcome to the show. We're so excited to have you. So why don't you take a couple minutes and tell us who you are, what your background is, and why you're so fabulous at what you do.
Sure. Well, thank you so much, guys, for having me here. This is so fantastic. My name's Brittney Hiller, and I do a lot of things. So first and foremost, I'm a yoga teacher and a massage therapist. I founded Effervescence Yoga Studio and Spa here in Beaufort, South Carolina. So I'm on the East Coast, and I practiced yoga since I was a kid. So I was actually 15 when I began yoga in my dance class in high school. So that was really fun. After the very first time of taking yoga, you get a nap at the end. So for anybody out there who's never done yoga before, the last part of yoga is the best part of yoga. And if they don't give that to you, they're completely wrong. So the nap time is the best time. So what I do is I found out, like, at that moment, this is for me. I want to teach this. And at 15 years old, I had no idea how I was going to do that. Fast forward 15 more years, and I find myself now teaching yoga, offering the opportunity for making people laugh through laughter yoga, which is another modality I use, and as well as leading people through meditations and stress relieving exercises so that they can get out of their own way, right, with the junk. So I enjoy doing that. I love taking laughter yoga to speaking engagements as well. I've done many retreats. And it was really fun because one time I did a retreat where we had the opportunity of taking laughter yoga every morning. And so what the retreat facilitator found was that she was able to get everybody involved to open up and talk, which was great because this was a body-mind coaching platform. So whereas before she found that people were kind of hidden back and they wouldn't really share. And now with this modality of waking people up in the morning, they were able to it's energizing and team building for everyone. So they were able to really connect on a deeper level and take it to just the stratosphere, basically. They went out above and beyond what they thought was going to happen within the retreat. We got renowned reviews about that. So it was really exciting. And why am I awesome? Because I'm me.
Yeah, because you are.
You just told us why you're awesome. That's the
There you go.
So for people that most people are kind of familiar with the idea of yoga. We've seen or done yoga in some form or another, but what's laughter yoga? Explain that to us.
Yeah, for sure. So laughter yoga is great. It says yoga at the end because of the breathing aspect. So there's no downward dog unless you want to laugh in down dog. I have created that as well, where people can do a whole vinyasa flow with laughter in it, and it is exhausting.
Sure.
So what we've done is Dr. Madan Kataria created laughter yoga in 1995. And it was a way for him to work with his cardiac patients. So as a cardiologist, he wanted to find a way where they could do exercise aerobically without doing a lot of movement and a lot of strain to their body. So they ended up putting together this little group. And he started with telling jokes after his studies in happiness and telling jokes, but he realized, like, I'm not really resonating with a lot of people here. So then he put in the idea of childlike playfulness. And what childlike playfulness does is allows people to utilize imagination and play. And so as they did that, then they took everyday activities that you would do. I love the argument one is great. Like every day when you're arguing with someone, whether it's yourself or your friend or your cat, right? You can point out your finger and laugh. And so there's no talking throughout the modality. It's just laughter. And what they found is with 20 minutes of laughter yoga exercises, you can have just as much of an aerobic exercise as you would if you were doing a row machine or an elliptical, which is pretty fantastic.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay, well, and because when you said yoga or laughter yoga, right? I thought, I mean, I've seen, I don't know if either one of you have seen The Road to Wellville. It's an old movie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. About Dr. Kellogg, that was one of the guys that kind of started Kellogg's, right?
Yeah.
And there's a part because he had a sanitarium, I think it was in Michigan, right? Battle Creek, Michigan, and it shows some scenes, of all these people, like in the late 1800s, and they're all dressed up, kind of, period clothing, and they're all sitting around going, ho, 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 right? Because they were actually doing laughter exercises as part of the stuff there at the sanatorium that he had. So it's interesting now that you say that and kind of bring that in, because there's a big power and energy shift that happens when we laugh. And so combining that with something else like yoga, I think is really kind of interesting. And, I know, Kathy, you and Brittney, that a lot more about yoga than I do, right? I mean, I'm a guy. And so maybe we can even, see where I'm going.
Guy.
I'm a guy.
Oh, so you're the token white guy. I forgot. That's right.
I'm the token white guy in the picture, right? But if we take a couple steps back, because I think too, I have a friend who's a yoga instructor, but he's male. And that's kind of unusual, because I think most of the time, and for people that are listening that maybe have never done yoga, never tried it, I've actually tried it, to maybe talk a little bit about kind of some of the basics, with it, because I think there's a lot of belief or stereotype around it. It's like, oh, it's the women, wear yoga pants, carry their little mat, they're kind of doing their exercise, they're stretching. But even Brittney, as you said, yoga is a lot about breathing, right? And so maybe kind of explain some of the basics about it for people, and then maybe we can kind of understand better how the laughing part of it actually comes into it as well.
Sure. So what's interesting is with the yogic practices that we do now in the Western culture, that seem to be mostly female based, right. It's actually based and rooted in a male only tradition. So
serious. Okay.
So fascinating. Yeah. It's like only guys were allowed to do these practices of yoga until it was brought over to the West Coast. I believe it was Swami Vivekananda. I can't really pronounce the name. But what he did is he brought it to the West Coast and then created this culture where he realized like women were really interested in doing this. And so yoga in its own form was actually mostly meditation, deep breathing exercises, which helps us to relax. It helps us to calm down. It opens us up to the opportunity to become more creative, to be more clear-minded. And so the asana portion of yoga, which is the poses, actually came in later on. So like when it was developed into the Western culture, that's when they mixed all three together. Because originally the asana, the poses of yoga, was looked down upon. It was frowned on because people were doing them in the streets in India for a way of creating money. So they looked like peddlers basically in the street.
Oh, okay.
Which is fascinating, right? And so now, if you think about like our culture and everybody who practices yoga or looks at yoga or thinks about yoga, they think like, oh, only particular looking women can do yoga, which is totally false. But that's just what's happening, in my opinion, with social media is becoming better because we're looking at everybody doing yoga, which I think is fantastic. And then now we need like everybody to understand they can do yoga, regardless of how you show up in your meat suit, right? We can all practice this because it helps us to calm down. It helps us for stress relief. It helps us reduce anxiety. It keeps our muscles lengthened through creating flexibility. So that's another false belief that people have to be flexible in order to do yoga. Totally false, right? It's like my friend Megan says it best. She's like, so you're telling me every time you say that you must be flexible to do yoga, that or that you're not flexible so you can't do yoga, so then you're too hungry, you can't eat. No, really. What it does is it creates flexibility for you. So we're gonna take that myth out and understand like this is a modality that really helps our body, not only internally but externally as well, just keeping us limber so that we are now allowing ourselves to resist injury and joint pain, all sorts of things.
Yeah, and there's so many different styles of yoga. This is so funny. I'm actually not a huge yoga fan. Because I grew up dancing, my body is built for dancing, not yoga. And they're kind of antagonists to each other sometimes. So when I've had yoga instructors say, put your knees over your toes, okay, my knees don't go over my toes because I'm constantly turned out. So if my feet are facing forward, as they're typically supposed to in most yoga poses, my body doesn't do it. I'm turned out. So it's hilarious because I'm so flexible, but for dancing, not for yoga. So it's just so antagonist to my body. And it's a little slow. I'm a little fast, Jason. I don't know if you've ever noticed this, but
Energizer Bunny.
so to tell me to slow down and breathe, it's like, no, it's not going to happen. So, but I've been actually doing yoga at home. I found a woman on YouTube that I really like, and I've been doing just like 10 or 15 minutes a day. I'm trying not to hurt myself because it does bother my wrists and elbows and stuff when I'm doing the down poses, but I'm adjusting to it. But my body feels great. The times that I have done a yoga class, I feel longer, I feel lengthened. My breathing is deeper. I feel more relaxed. So it's a great modality. And you're right, Brittney, anybody can do it. And I have some clients who are bigger women who they actually have found yoga classes for larger people. And they just augment the poses with bolsters and blocks and things like that so that you can do it. So if you're interested in it, there's got to be something in your community that you can try to do. So now let's talk about the laughter part of this, because I have done laughter yoga several times. In fact, I think that's how I met you. Didn't we meet at the naturopath conference?
Yes.
That was a long time ago.
I know. Don't remind me.
Very, very long time ago. Wow. Okay. Yeah. So the laughter part of the laughter yoga, because I love making people laugh. As adults, we don't laugh enough. What is the statistic? Adults laugh like 8 times and kids laugh hundreds or something like that?
Yes. They're like 500 times a day. Although, sorry, I have to be quiet, my dog. Quiet dog. Okay. Although, here she comes. Although, what I've learned, especially with digital media, the way that children are being raised today now with more and more digital media in front of them, the laughing has decreased, unfortunately. So, but yes, naturally, like a natural kid would laugh up to 300 to 400 times a day, just naturally.
Yep.
Whereas adults are like, 8 to 15 times. But adults also feel that they need to have a reason in order to laugh. So I also taught kids yoga. I teach kids yoga as well. And what I found, which was so fascinating, the ages that I would teach is 1 through 4. And about 3 to 4 is when society would kick in and their left brain would start to turn on and say, like, I need to analyze this. So we would do laughter yoga. I would do it with them. And I would have a couple of kids be like, what's so funny? Why do we have to laugh? And I was like, You're 3.
Yeah, right. Just laugh.
Right. It's like, you just laugh. Why do you need a reason?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's turn on your imagination. I know you have it. Let's pretend.
Jason, I need no excuse to laugh. I have so many videos laughing.
Well, no, but it's interesting, as you're talking about that, because you're right. I mean, there's at some point in our lives, right, when all of a sudden we decide, that we have to analyze it and determine if it's really funny before we can laugh, right? And I know I see this, with some kids of our friends that are, I think they're 6 now, right? And so I'm always trying to tell, we try to tell them like the little knock jokes and the other stuff like that, right? And so there'd be times, right, when I would tell, it's a stupid joke, right? But it's like a first grader joke, right? And he looks at me and he's like, Jason, that was not funny. And I was like, what? Right. But it's kind of interesting, like you said, there is this time where we kind of switch over and we decide, that maybe we can't laugh, or we have to analyze and determine if it's really funny instead of just laughing, right? So again, I mean, we're sitting here, we're laughing as we're talking, and I'm sitting here to myself, because I've never done laughing yoga, it's like, how does that actually all tie together? Because, when I did yoga, it was like, like you said, trying to do the poses, trying to breathe, kind of stuff. So how do you incorporate laughter into yoga? Because I'd be like falling over and everything like that, right? I mean, are the poses still kind of included in it, or how does this work? And then maybe you can talk a little bit more, because you said you did this at the beginning of one of the retreats, kind of how that would work, how it opens us up to be able to be more receptive and really get our full potential, right?
Sure. So as Kathy has experienced a long time ago.
A long time ago in a faraway land.
It was Las Vegas.
Ooh.
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 It's like
And it was
like
totally
another
awesome.
planet. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Plenty of things to laugh at there, though. Plenty of things to laugh at.
Oh yeah. So what I taught was that we actually use 4 key components in laughter yoga. So there's really no yogic poses. That's what I'm saying. Like the asana portion of yoga doesn't exist in laughter yoga. It's more, asana means poses. It's more of the pranayama. So the breath work and the meditation, those 2 aspects of yoga that they bring it in. And this was created in India. So being in India, they utilized, of course, the first way of yoga being created. So then they added laughter instead of asana. And so the key components that we utilize is eye contact. So imagine that you're partnered with somebody, you're going to look into their eyes, you're not going to talk to them, but you're still going to have a conversation with them through laughter. So that connects us on a whole deeper level. And then as my husband likes to recommend and say to people, at first it's weird, it's very weird. And then afterwards though, you start to feel the effects of it. And at the end, it's just like you've survived this weird thing together, and now people who you wouldn't connect with on a normal basis, you're just connecting with them. And I mean by normal basis as if like picture yourself in a meeting with people from your business that you or your organization that you're working with, but you only see on like a weekend or a team building exercise moment. And then now, before, some other team building exercises might be, I don't know, happy hour. And then you don't really recall like what the conversations were. So this is
Depends on how happy you got.
That was a good happy hour. Jeez.
So true.
Wow. We'll talk about the risky drinking after the show. Okay, good.
So on this one though, what happens is you're sober, you're sound, mind, and body. You have the key elements of the eye contact, clapping, laughing, ha 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 ha. But the laughter is more of a deep belly breath laughter. And then the childlike playfulness, which through this we utilize imaginative improvisational exercises. So like I said, pretend you're doing something throughout your day. Maybe you're talking on your cell phone, right? This is the easy laugh. And then you laugh, gazing into the eyes of the person with you, pretending like you guys are both having a really great conversation through laughter. And so once each laughter yoga exercise actually lasts around like 10 to 15 seconds. And so once it's complete, then we move on to the next exercise. And the total amount of exercises is typically around 20 minutes. And so just imagine how much energy you get when you laugh normally, just by yourself, without reason, or you find something that's funny and you're laughing. And then imagine doing this for 20 minutes straight with people that you've never met before, right? So left brain can start to get in there like, okay, that seems weird. So what we do is we allow people to understand that this is coming from a playfulness aspect. So turn on your right brain, let your left brain be quiet for a moment, understand that you're going to try to analyze, but the laughter comes regardless. So if you're faking your laughter, the body doesn't understand what fake laughter is. You still get all of the physiological benefits of oxygenation of your blood, of increased oxygenation throughout your body, releasing of endorphins, and basically this energizing effect that occurs through laughter. So the brain is only what turns on the idea of fake or real. Pretty cool.
Well, and now I can see some of that connection stuff too, because you're talking about, gazing exercises, right? I mean, Kathy, you use that. I mean, a lot of times actors will do that as a way to kind of get the connection to be able to do the scene. I've done that, with groups that I've done, either where I'm a participant or leading, where you end up using that gazing exercise as an opportunity to develop that deeper connection. And it is kind of awkward. I mean, you talked about it, being like this awkward moment that we made it through. And I remember, the first time that I did a gazing exercise, I wanted to laugh, right? Because it was me, and it was like this big, like manly man, that we were gazing into each other's eyes, and both of us were kind of like, okay, this is kind of weird. Like, this is the first time we've done it, and this is not how bros do it, it's like, but I know you're rolling your eyes, but it is. But and you know what, by the time that we got done with it, we ended up hugging each other,
Of course.
Right. Because, you know, and at first there was kind of that uncomfortableness, but then it just kind of changed. And so I can totally see that where too, as you're bringing in the laughter with that, you're getting all of those physiological things from the laughter, but you're also connecting with that other person. So,
and you have to, there's this sort of suspension of disbelief that goes along with it, because the times that I've done it, and I know I did it with you, Brittney, but also I've been to other conferences where I've done laughter yoga things. And it's interesting for me because I can laugh at anything and I'm pretty much not self-conscious about anything. But I'm looking around the room and you can see these people, like, they're so afraid to just let go because they feel stupid and they feel like people are looking at them and they're feeling vulnerable. And, you know, especially with gazing, you get an introvert with gazing, that's going to freak them out. And then you get the introvert with gazing. Oh, now pretend you're talking on your cell phone, or pretend you're on a hot beach, or pretend you're having the argument is the most fun. That's the one that I've done with groups occasionally, is do the argument one, where you just get in someone's face and be like, ha ha ha, 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 and you have this entire argument, but you're just laughing at each other, which is hilarious. But you feel so good when you're done. And I remember I love kids movies. I don't have kids, but I love kids movies. And my husband and I went to see the movie Pets. It was the cartoon with all the different animals, and he's like, this is kind of stupid. And what I did instead, because I'm like, you know what, I'm in this situation, let's make this situation real for me. I had hamsters and guinea pigs and stuff growing up, and there's this whole scene with hamsters and the wheel, and it got stuck in the thing, and I sat there and I laughed my ass off. He kind of looks over at me, and I thought, I'm a 10-year-old right now. Like, why can I not just pretend to be a kid and enjoy this? Why do I have to think, well, it's kind of stupid, or that animation sucks? Or, you're like, why not just give myself fully over to that experience and enjoy that as a 10-year-old? And I love the movie. I walked out of there feeling so high and feeling so good because I'm like, it's a hamster, it's funny, you know, and just laughed at it. So how do we convince adults to go back to that childlike play? Because boy, are we resistant. So what's your tip on that?
Yeah, so convincing them doesn't really work, but no. I would love to. But what I say, because my husband specifically is more of a left brain thinker, a logical person who analyzes lots of things, whereas I am more of the right brain, creative. I'm ready to just burst out laughing at any minute. I don't care. I'm ready for fun. Not that he's not, but you know what I mean. Yeah. There are those people who are stuck, right? They call themselves the A-type people. And so what I do,
hey, it's me.
Hey.
Laugh. You get the benefit. You understand, like, you do need to calm down sometimes. But, oh, Abigail.
That's perfect timing.
Right. I'm like, she needs to laugh. But even with the, even with regular yoga, when people go into yoga, they do the same thing. Like, they're just like, I can't do it. I can't slow down. It's the A-type mentality. So what I do is I recommend to people who are with me, because the same thing, Kathy, like, I'll notice people who are just stuck and they just don't get it, which is fine. But what I notice is when they realize that they're the only ones that aren't participating and there's more people that are, they'll kind of come out of it, is what I've noticed with groups that I'll put together. And they'll kind of just like, okay, I guess I'll try it. And then eventually they'll let go. But what if they don't, right? I talk to it. I speak to them and I say specifically, like, into the crowd, okay, I understand your left brain is just talking to you right now. You feel like, this is stupid. What am I doing? This person is laughing at me, not with me. All the things that you could be thinking about right now. I get it. But I invite you instead to tap into that joy. You know that joy. If you see a dog or if you see a cat, I had a guy who I was like, if you see a cat, he was like, no cats. I was like, dog.
Okay,
like,
dog.
Guinea pig, marmot, ferret. What do you got? We got anything. We got any animal you need.
Pleasure. I don't know. Ice cream. I don't know. But, you know, find your joy. Find your joy. And when you have that, when you experience that, then, like, just let it out. Let it out. And sometimes they won't. And that's okay. That's their situation. And unfortunately, as the leader, as the teacher, I got to understand, like, that's them. But typically I have a pretty good success rate of getting people into that laughter. And then what's interesting, Abby, is afterwards just noticing the connection that's created because of that eye contact, because of the laughing, the no talking, the no judgment, the idea of just letting go. it's phenomenal. And Kathy, you experienced it as well, right? I mean, you saw the group, you see the groups, like do it. You see how people just connect deeper without, like, you'll notice the beginning. I know. You'll notice the beginning and how people are kind of closed off. I think she likes the buzzer.
You have an S&M dog. That's really great. No judgment.
It's real. It's a thing. But
Buzz
yeah.
me, buzz me.
Huh?
Buzz me, buzz me.
Yeah. Exactly. Like Uber. But just seeing the differences is really fascinating. It's awesome. Yeah.
Well, and I think because what you're saying there is, I'm a little both left and right brain, right? But my training was left brain, very, very much all through school, everything else, very analytical in its nature. And I think that, as you're talking, that a lot of times as people, we want to hold back. And we talked before on earlier episodes about masks and about walls that we put up and other things like that, right? Is that a lot of times we try to hide behind these things, and we're so worried about letting people actually see us for who we are. But really those breakthroughs and unlocking potential doesn't come until you actually let that go. And it's okay. I mean, like you said, when you're in the group setting like that, a lot of people are thinking, oh, everybody's going to be watching me and they're going to see that I can't touch my toes. Well, guess what? I can't touch my toes right now either, right? I used to be able to, straight-legged. Of course, I can always bend them and still touch them, but at least that's something, right? And with any of these practices like yoga, whether it's traditional, more of the positions, whether it's the breathing, whether it's the laughter, we should just be in that moment and really not give a damn what anybody else is thinking, because the reality is nobody else is looking at us either, right? Nobody in that room is judging us if we can't do the pose exactly right. If we're feeling a little withdrawn, like or we're fake laughing or whatever it is, right? That was my attempt at fake laughing.
I love how you
Okay, there's the real laugh.
Right? I'm attempting to fake laugh right now. No, I can't.
But it doesn't really matter. Just do it. Just jump and try to let go again. I mean, even for like you said, it's each of these is like 10 to 15 seconds, maybe 20 minutes in total. Just let yourself go for 20 minutes because, again, I know you talked about the doctor to begin with. And there's been, I've read different studies about in the medical field using laughter and other things like that. And it really does have a restorative and healing effect on the patients. And so, if they can get it there and we can get it through something like laughter yoga, then my gosh, why are we not doing it, right? We take ourselves too serious. We take life too serious, and we just need to let some of that go.
Well, it's that whole Norman Cousins book. Wasn't it him who he was diagnosed with some terminal illness and he checked himself out of the hospital and went home and just watched reruns of the Three Stooges and basically laughed himself back to health? I mean, there's an entire book about that. So yeah, so once again, we've blown through our half hour because we do this every time. I'm the timekeeper, the Capricorn of the group. So we'd love to continue laughing. So any final thoughts, Brittney, and how can people reach you? And this has been awesome. And it's a great reminder that we do need to laugh more and hang out with people who bring that joy and that laughter out in us. And if they don't, then just do it yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So Brittney, let's bring us home. What, any final thoughts and how can everybody reach you?
Sure. So I would love to just recommend take a laugh. Just laugh it in your car, right? Nobody's paying attention. Everybody has some sort of device and made to look like it, but feel free to just laugh it out in your car and notice just how you feel in your body. You can reach me specifically at BrittneyHillerYoga.com, where I offer laughter yoga certification online. So you can take an 8-week course and become a laughter yoga leader yourself. You can also work with me one-on-one, and I'm also welcome to do retreats as well, bringing laughter yoga to your location and helping your amazing people to feel good in their bodies.
Well, and I think that's important because having been on retreats myself and doing them, there has to be something like that to start getting the connection. Because if you want the magic to happen during the retreat, people have to feel connected and they have to kind of let go of some of those things, or else the magic doesn't happen. And so it's great that you offer that service to be able to help people do that and get the most out of those things.
Thank you. I love it. It's fun. It's super fun.
Of course it is, because we're laughing. All right. Okay, of course it's fun. That's the whole kind. If it's not fun, then it's not laughter yoga. There's a new tagline. All right, everybody, this has been an amazing episode. Brittney, thank you so much for coming on. And we're so pleased to have you. We will have to have you back, and we'll do more laughing. I'm Kathy Groover. I can be reached at kathygroover.com.
And I'm Jason Mefford. I can be reached at jasonmefford.com. So go out there this week, laugh. Heck, don't even wait until later in the week. Go laugh today. Hopefully you got some laughter even just hearing us laugh. And because as we talked about, it's going to make your life feel better. So go out there and unlock your limitless potential. And we'll see you on a future episode of the Fire and Earth Podcast. See ya.
Yeah.